Namaste, friends. Today we will read some of the best last lines of English novels. The first novel is Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, published in 1884. I got to light out for the territory ahead of the rest because Aunt Sally, she is going to adopt me and civilize me, and I can't stand it. I have been there before. The second novel is The Awakening by Kate Chopin, published in 1899. There was the hum of bees, and the musky odor of pinks filled the air. Next novel is Beloved by Toni Morrison, published in 1987. The last line of the novel is Beloved. The next novel is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, published in 1951. It is funny, don't ever tell anybody anything. If you do, you start missing everybody. The next novel is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, published in 1843. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God blesses everyone. The next novel is Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus by Mary Shelley, published in 1818. He was soon borne away by the waves and lost in darkness and distance. Next novel is Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell, published in 1936. After all, tomorrow is another day. Next novel is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, published in 1939. She looked up and across the barn, and her lips came together and smiled mysteriously. Next novel is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, published in 1925. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. Next novel is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, published in 1985. All there Are there any questions? Next novel is Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, published in 1952. Who knows but that on the lower frequencies I speak for you? Next novel is 1984 by George Orwell, published in 1949. He loved Big Brother. Next novel is The Road by Cormac McCarthy, published in 2006. In the deep glens where they lived, all things were older than man, and they hummed of mystery. Next novel is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, published in 1926. Yes, I said. Isn't it pretty? Isn't it pretty to think so? Next novel is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. She called in her soul to come and see. Next novel is Post Office by Charles Bukowski, published in 1971. In the morning, it was morning, and I was still alive. Maybe I will write a novel, I thought, and then I did. The next novel is Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, published in 1925. I will come, said Peter, but he sat on for a moment. What is this terror? What is this ecstasy? He thought to himself. What is it that fills me with extraordinary excitement? It is Clarissa, he said, for there she was. Next novel is One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, published in 1962. There were 3,653 days like that in his stretch, from the first clang of the rail to the last clang of the rail. The 3 extra days were for leap years. The next novel is The Trial by Franz Kafka, published in 1935. But the hands of the one of the partners were already at K's throat, while the other thrust the knife into his heart and turned it there twice. With paling eyes, Kay could still see the two of them, cheek leaning against cheek, immediately before his face. Watching the final act, like a dog, he said. It was as if he meant the same of it to outlive him. Next novel is Animal Farm by George Orwell, published in 1945. 12 voices were shouting in anger, and they were all alike. No question now. What had happened to the faces of the pigs? The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again. But already it was impossible to say which was which. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, published in 1823. He was soon borne away by the waves and lost in darkness and distance. Thank you very much, dear friends.